Then you'll see all the text messages for the last 18 months in which he's scoring drugs, in which you'll hear testimony from people in which he's gotten drunk and you know, taken all kinds of different drugs. The whole time. He doesn't get clean and sober. But he claims that he was clean and sober, that she came there. This is a month after they just got married. She flew in from filming The Danish Girls. She's there, and he claims that he was just sitting there calmly, and she was haranguing him. So he took a shot glass of vodka. And when he did that, she got mad, took the bottle of vodka, was 8 to 10 feet, about where I am from you, and hurled it at him, and it happened to just take off the bottom part of his finger. And then he says she came and burned a hole in his cheek. The testimony is going to be that he self-mutilated on a number of occasions and burned himself in the cheek and also cut himself. But Amber never did that. And you're going to hear from the experts testifying about this finger injury and how fantastic this version is. But the other part of it was he was with Marilyn Manson for the week before, scoring on cocaine. You'll see text messages of him getting it from his handlers, the cocaine and the liquor. And you'll hear so much before that. But Amber gets there, and instead what he does is he takes 8 to 10 tablets of ecstasy almost immediately. And the next 3 days are just a cycle of very, very, very violent activity by him. Amber keeps trying to calm him down. She tries to get him to eat. She tries to get him to sleep. She tries to do these things. And he would just, he was, you know, at times delusional, paranoid. He would be, you know, mad at somebody else. Then he'd be mad at her. And by the way, we'll talk about the prenup, but he called her lawyer, who she had because she wanted to give him a prenup, and then they got married too quickly, so she was going to give him a postnup. He called the lawyer from Australia, called her a bitch, and fired her. You'll hear the testimony from the lawyer on that. That's the type of Johnny Depp that was there. And he didn't want the postnup. He didn't want the prenup. But now they're going to tell you that it was her that was mad. You're going to hear she had a lawyer, and she was cooperating completely on that. So as you go through those 3 days of Australia, some pretty horrendous things happen to her. He rips off her nightgown. He has her jammed up against a bar. He has hurled bottles and bottles at her. He has dragged her across the floor on the broken bottles and the liquor. He has punched her. He has kicked her. He tells her he's going to fucking kill her. He fucking hates her. He's pounding at her, pounding her. And then he penetrates her with a liquor bottle. That's the Johnny Depp that you're going to hear about in this case. Now, after that, Amber goes to the airport, and what does she do? She buys a book by a psychiatrist who's talking about couples therapy. She's already trying to figure out a way to fix it again, fix this marriage that's only a month old, and her husband has just done these horrible things to her. Now, they go back to L.A. He's got to get his finger fixed, so he has to stop filming Pirates 5. They get there, and there's another fight in just 2 weeks from there. He's still using at this point. He's still drunk. But Amber finds on a TV screen, his monitor, she finds pictures of another woman, naked pictures of a woman, and text messages which show that he's clearly having an affair. She gets extremely mad. Amber can be jealous too. She can get angry. You know, she's half his age, and you know she's defiant. And we're not going to say she's perfect. She was mad as can be when she saw that, and she confronted him. The two of them were screaming at each other. Now her sister Whitney happened to be in the house. She was summoned. She literally was awakened to come and try to resolve this fight between the two of them. While she's there, Johnny starts hitting Amber, and Whitney ends up getting in between them. And Amber thinks that Johnny's going to throw her down, push her down the stairs because he's in that position. So Amber actually gets up and punches Johnny in the face. She'll tell you that's the only time she has ever laid one on him, you know, in an aggressive manner. But it's after he's already been hitting her, and it's in defense of her sister. And she'll admit she got him that time, and she actually did have an impact on him. She'll testify about how many times they were in their fights, and she said, you know, she's almost half his size. So he, you know, she said, if I pushed him, he doesn't move. He pushes me, I go flying across the room. There isn't any, ability on her part to be the abuser. What she'll also tell you is it took her a while to ever fight back. That many times before that, she would do what she did when she was breaking the horses. She wouldn't show fear. She wouldn't show pain. She would look at him. She would just be defiant, and all it would do was piss him off more. She'll tell you that she tried everything. She tried everything, from trying to be nice, trying to get away from him. She would throw things in his way to get him from running after her. She would try to, flail back. She would use her hands and legs, and she would go and try to fight him. She'd run into her room and try to barricade and push his hands and everything out of there. She'd try all those things, but she couldn't figure out what could get him to calm down. I'm going to fast forward now to the next one, and that is I'm going to jump you up to after the stair incident, and Johnny had to get surgery on his finger. That's the longest period of time he stayed sober. It was almost 3 months. You're going to hear that he has never been through rehab, even though he has been a lifelong drug addict and alcoholic. Never has he gone through a rehab plan. Instead, there's twice that he went to some New York hospital and did a cleansing. One time it was for 3 days, and one time it was for 5 days, and that's it. He's never made any effort whatsoever to get sober or stop the drugs. But this particular time, he did for almost 3 months. And you'll see the text messages. We're going to take you through this whole story and all the text messages and all the emails and all the testimony that you're going to get. So fast forward to December 2015. That was one of the worst. Australia was pretty bad, but this one was even worse. In this particular occasion, he gets angry for some reason, and he starts dragging her by her hair through the apartment, kicking her, punching her, tearing her hair out. At one point, she gets up and looks at him, and he headbutts her, and she gets 2 black eyes from it. Then he goes and drags her up the stairs, puts her on the bed, puts his foot and knee in the back of her, and he continues to punch her, telling her he's fucking hating her and he's fucking going to kill her. And he's got his boot stuck in the bed frame as he's doing it. And the force of what he's doing to her causes the bed frame to splinter. That's how much force. She is suffocating in the pillow, and she believes truly she's going to die on this one. She wakes up to her friend being there. She doesn't know how long that she was unconscious or subconscious. She doesn't know. But Johnny was gone at that point, and her friend saying, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" You'll see the pictures of all of this. You'll see the pictures of the hair. Imagine how much that must hurt. But the hair that's out on the ground. And you'll see the pictures of Amber. Now, here's the ironic thing. The next day, she's got to be on the James Corden show. And you can see the text messages. She's not sure if she can go. She's worried. She's got 2 black eyes. She's got a split lip. She's got bruising. She's got her hair missing. But her friends rally with her. She's got a makeup artist you're going to hear from, Melanie Iglesias, who does the best job of makeup you could imagine to get her through the James Corden show. And she does it. But you'll see the pictures, the before, and you'll see them then. And that's the resilient Amber who says, "I'm going to go do this anyway." Now, her friends, she tells Io, you're going to hear about Io Tillett Wright. He was in New York. She texted him and said, "Johnny beat me up really good this time. Can you help?" And he says, I was filming something. I stopped. I got the first flight out of there. I'm flying from New York back to L.A. I see her on the James Corden show. I can see the swelling because I know her well. I can see the swelling. And then he said somebody touched her and she flinched on the show. He said, "That's not like Amber." He got there. They hadn't cleaned up all the mess. He sees the hair. He sees the splintered. He sees all of the other things. And he is so upset. He was a good friend of Johnny's as well. He'll testify about all of his friendship with Johnny. But he put his foot down on that one and said, "You need to have consequences. You cannot do this to Amber anymore. I am not your friend anymore." Now, there were several people that were supposed to go to Johnny's island, Bahamas Island, in December for Christmas. He was going to bring his 2 kids. He'd invited Amber's parents, who loved Johnny, and unfortunately her father used to drink and do drugs with Johnny a lot. And he was also going to take Rocky, her friend who lived next door in a penthouse, and her fiance, and Rocky's parents. Imagine being able to go to a Bahamas island for Christmas. What a cool thing to do. But they all were so upset what he did to Amber on December 15, they said, "No, we're not going. We're not going to condone this. We're not going." But he talked Amber into going. He guilted her into going. "I'm going to be with my kids. Please come. I'll be better. I'm going to get better." Amber went. And then he ends up assaulting her even there, and sexually assaults her even there. Now, you'll see a video from them of the Bahamas, the place that they stayed in on his island. And the video just conveniently leaves out the wardrobe in the bathroom where he committed the assault. It just goes around and makes it look like it's a one room and his kids were there and there's no way they could have done that. But you'll hear the testimony and you'll see the pictures. Then from then on, things really were bad for Amber, and she was really considering leaving him at this point. And she was talking to her friends and confiding. You'll see, the medical records. And in February 2016, I told you you'll see that video. That same night before the video, he called Io, Till It Right, and left him a voicemail message that he said was just absolutely delusional. It was crazy. He was pretending like he was the property management. It was just an insane call. And then the next day we have the picture of the video. Then we get to April 30th, or April 21st, 2016. Amber's 30th birthday party. She was going to turn 30 the next day. Pretty big event. Her friends had a tape that they put together of everybody giving her tributes. Johnny doesn't participate. They have a dinner and a party for her that night. Johnny says, I have a business meeting at 7 p.m. I'll be there after that. What kind of business meeting do you need to have at 7 p.m. when your wife turns 30? But that's Johnny, right? And he can't say that it was an important financial one because he'd fired his financial manager the month before when, as you heard from Ben, it was blaming him for all his financial problems, so he's the problem. So he shows up late, drunk, drugs, and after everybody, and he's even drinking while he's there, and he's telling the other friends, and you'll hear from one of them, that he's saying, hide the bottle from Amber, hide the bottle from Amber. When they all leave, she expresses her disappointment. He gets mad and assaults her again, including sexually assaults her. Then he goes away, and he doesn't come back for a month. Now, this is an important event, May 21, 2016. This is the last one, and this is the final straw that leads up to the DVTRO, the Domestic Violence Temporary Restraining Order. So he says he's coming over to get some clothes. He's going to go out on tour. She says, okay. He comes over, and his mother died the day before, and he's already in a state. He's been drinking. He's clearly high. And he comes in, and he's got on his mind this obsession that when she, on her birthday, go back to her birthday, the next day she and her friends went to Coachella, but his housekeeper had come in to clean after that, always did, and the housekeeper had found some feces on the bed and had been upset about it and taken a picture and sent it to him. So all of a sudden, a month later, he's got it in his head that Amber has conspired with her friends to defecate on the bed. It's human, not dog, even though they got two dogs and one of them has major problems. You'll hear about Boo and Pistol. And somehow Amber was doing this so he would get back there and find it, even though he had no intention of coming back, and even though the housekeeper was there. And he won't lose it. He won't get rid of it. He's just obsessed with it. Then he decides that it's Io Till It Right who did it, even though Io wasn't at the birthday party and wasn't even in town. So Amber gets Io on the phone. Io's in New York. And she says, this is what Johnny says. Can you please just calm him down? Tell him this isn't true. Tell him we don't have a conspiracy here. And Io's thinking, what? And you'll hear from Io, he'll say, Amber's fecal phobia. I mean, she can't even, she's so embarrassed about that stuff. She would never conspire, never do anything like that to him. So they're kind of laughing at the absurdity of it, and that was the biggest mistake, because that triggered his anger. And then he started hitting Amber. He grabbed the cell phone from her, wound it up, and bashed it into her face. And you will see the pictures, you will see the bruise there, and you'll see the form of it there. Now, I was very, very upset. He's worried because he knows about the December 15, 2015, and he says, Amber, get out of there, get out of there. Are you safe? Get out of there. As Johnny's storming around, and he calls Rocky, who lives next door, and then he calls 911. And it's not clear, whether Amber said call 911 or he said call 911, but he calls 911. But he's in New York, and he's genuinely concerned for her safety. So he calls 911 there, and he calls a friend in LA and says, please call 911 and just tell them this, so they get somebody there so we can get somebody fast. I don't know what's going on. So the police are called twice, essentially. And now, here's what happens next. Johnny goes around and he trashes the apartment before he leaves. He loves to do that. You're going to hear about his penchant for that. Does it a lot. And you'll see a picture of him in the elevator afterwards, leaving with his bodyguards, and he's a little agitated there. And the police are called. You will see pictures of Amber with metadata on them, both before, during, and after the police officers are there. But what happens is Amber calls her attorney, the one that she had consulted after the December 15 event. And the attorney says, if you press charges, they'll arrest him. And Amber says, I can't have that happen. I don't want his kids to know about this. I don't want the public to know. I can't have that happen. So when the police show up, she refuses to cooperate. She says, on the advice of my attorney, I'm not going to cooperate. But her friend, Rocky, whose fiance was there, Josh at this point, he takes them around and shows one of the police officers all the property damage around the house as well. And the police officers say to him, look, she's got the red mark on there. You know, if you just give us the name, we'll go get him. And he says, no, I can't. She won't let me. So they leave. Now here's what happens and creates all of the noise here that you're going to have to deal with.